What's going on, everyone? So, per Beyond the Mask, Scream 7 will scare audiences more than any other Scream movie. The way Ghostface returns in this movie creates some real sense of danger for everybody involved. So, this is exciting, right? Obviously, we've talked about it here before on the channel. We want a menacing, dark Ghostface. One of the things that I loved about Scream 5 and 6 in particular compared to the previous films was the dark undertones of Ghostface and the sort of no nonsense, right? When you're in their sights, that's it. You're done, right? Where particularly the original trilogy could be a little silly at times with Ghostface, right? Ghostface is a little clumsy, right? Like Ghostface, kind of played with its food a little too much at times. And, Scream 4 I felt was much darker as far as Ghostface went. The kills were much more brutal than what you had in the previous three. And then I thought Scream 5 and 6 really did a better job. However you feel about the films, I just thought that the direction of Ghostface was something that I was like, okay, you need to keep this. At the end of the day, this is a horror film, right? Scream has always been meta. It's always had its comedy in it. It's always had its fun, which you want, right? I want a little fun. I want a little excitement. I want a little laugh, right? I want those things. I want the meta elements in it. But I also want a Ghostface that is menacing. I want a Ghostface that is terrifying. I want a Ghostface that doesn't play games and doesn't mess around, right? I want a Ghostface that is going to keep you on your edge of your seat and really kind of raise the stakes. And like, somebody, like every time you see Ghostface, somebody is going to die. Right? You know that somebody, like, they're not getting away, right? And so the fact that this is supposed to be a darker, more scarier film, I'm all for that, right? Like, I'm curious to see what their idea of scarier is, but that's good in the sense of like just the direction. For me personally, and of course I always want to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments, but for me personally, I like the idea of that just darker, let's get things real here, right? Like, because even in real life, right? Like one of the things that I've loved and why Scream is my favorite horror franchise is the realism. Does it have movie logic? Does it have unrealistic moments? Right? Yeah, of course. But the general idea and concept is very real, right? It's just somebody that is crazy enough to kill people. We see that every day on the news, and usually it's not with a knife, it's a gun, but still, like the same idea. Friends and all kinds of stuff turn on each other. It's just the idea of like, it's the tagline. It's always someone right? Like that's real. Most crimes committed on people are by people that they know, by loved ones, by family members, by all that stuff. So I've always loved that idea with Scream. And, usually in reality, there isn't a lot of, goofiness. It is dark and it is brutal and it is like, oh my gosh, like how could somebody do this? Right. And so if Scream can kind of get to that, sign me up, right? Like give me that. Because that's one of the things that I love, right? I want even all the Screams have had their brutalities, right? Like all the Scream, even like, back in 96, right? Like they had to cut like half of the opening sequence because it was just too brutal and they didn't want to get an X rating or anything like that, right? Like, and even then for those years, right? You're talking 96, that was brutal, right? Scream has always been dark, but again, it's always had its clumsiness, where I like the modern Ghostface is just more like in your face, let's go, right? Doesn't mess around. I'm also curious to see how are they going to drag everything in, right? According to Beyond the Mask, hey, like Ghostface's return, kind of basically raises the stakes, right? Ghostface's return applies the pressure on everybody, right? Puts everybody in this compromised position, which is something that I want, right? Like, we all know Sydney's not going to die. Like, we know they're not going to go and do that, right? But one of the things that I liked about killing Dewey And I know a lot of people really didn't like that they killed Dewey, but it raised the bar. It changed the stakes. Now it's like every time we see Gale, again, Sidney, we know probably not going to die, but Kincaid, right? If we see Kincaid being, is he about to die? Where before we might have not have thought that. Before it might have been like, they're not going to kill Sidney and her husband. They're not going to kill Kincaid and stuff. Like, Kirby. Like, I felt like you got to this point where it's just like you had a handful of characters that you knew were never going to die, which is why Scream 6 was so frustrating that nobody died. Literally everybody survived. You get to live, and you get to live, and you get to live. That was so incredibly frustrating. I do not want that for Scream 7. Right? Like, if you're going to essentially kill Gale. Don't have off camera, Gale's alive. You gave us an awesome scene, this awesome sequence. We all just watched Gale die to her not be dead. Or, Chad. Right? Like, what an awesome sequence. What a great moment for you to completely ruin at the end of the movie. Right? I don't want that stuff. Right? If we're going to raise the stakes here, if no one is off the table, then that needs to be the case. Right? And that's one of the things that I liked about Scream 5 was, and why I thought the Dewey death was necessary. The problem is they just ruined it. Right? Like, to me, they turned something that I thought was necessary and then just completely retconned it by having everybody alive. I don't want that again. The whole point of killing Dewey was to reset the expectations. The whole point of killing Dewey was to have this perception of like, okay, wow, no one's off the table. Gale could die, right? Anybody can die. And you killed most of everybody in Scream 5, right? Like, you killed Judy, you killed Dewey, you killed, like, characters that many thought were going to survive, right? So I do want the stakes raised. I do want to see Ghostface be brutal. I want to see Sidney in real compromised positions. I'm okay with Sidney maybe even potentially having to make a decision between like Gale and her husband, or maybe her husband and her kids. Like, one can live. Like, do you want your kids or do you want your husband? And and Sidney has to make again, at the end of the day, this is a horror movie. This isn't some rom-com. This isn't some everything's wrapped up in a tight little bow. Everything's just cute and everybody lives and it's happily ever after. No, it's a horror film. Let's get some horror. I want to see some people die. I want to see the stakes raised. I want to see people that you think, they're not going to kill that person, and then they're dead. Right? Like, that's the art of diverting expectations. Right? That's what horror's always done. Right? Like, you get these films and it's like, you think this person, they're the franchise. Like, that was what Scream did in the opening scene. Drew Barrymore was looked at as, that's the face of Scream. Man, people went to Scream just for Drew Barrymore. And they killed her in the first 10 minutes. Scream has always, you believe this person's going to live. Guess what? They're not. From Randy to, like I said, Drew Barrymore and Casey, her character, right? Like, that's what this is supposed to be. Sarah Michelle Gellar, big star, right? Like, everyone recognizes her. Right, coming off of, I Know What You Did, all that. And guess what? Boom, dead. Right? Like, it just, to me, do that. If you're gonna stick to the script, so to speak, right? Scream is always, again, diverted expectations. You believe this person over here is gonna live. Oh, nope, sorry. Right? Now, again, obviously, Sidney has been so established, I think people would literally riot if they ended up killing Sid. So I don't think you can do that. But, like, I don't want you to just kill Gale just to kill Gale. But, like, Scream 6, I thought if you killed her, everyone would have been all right. Because I think everyone kind of expected her to be dead. I think everyone was like, man, she just got brutally attacked. Right? Like, that was rough. Right? Like, they finished the job. They got her. Got the drop on her. Wow. And then you kind of ruined it. Right? Like, again, my thing is that if you're going to do stuff like that, don't ruin it. See it through. It's like you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're dipping your toe in the water rather than just jumping in. Right? Like, don't give us the the illusion, either follow through with it or don't. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have Gale in a compromised position or have it through an epic chase scene, or maybe she gets stabbed or, whatever. There's ways to do stuff without essentially killing them and then bringing them back out, 20 minutes later, right? Like, again, like Chad, if you didn't want to kill him, then you shouldn't have put him in that sequence where he just got brutally stabbed by 2 Ghostface, right? Like, you ruined the moment. You ruined the sequence, right? You could have easily had the 2 Ghostface, maybe each one, stabs him once and he's like, bleeding out, and he runs away with the girls or whatever, and they're like and he's like bleeding out, to where it's not like some brutal stabbing where this guy just got, 100 stab wounds and somehow it didn't even faze him. He just walked it off, right? Like, no, like Gale, you could have had her, maybe about to die and somebody, maybe she gets stabbed in the shoulder twice or something. It's like, and it's just this rough sequence. And then, maybe she gets bailed out at the end, right? When you think she's about to die, whatever. Like, there's always ways to keep you from killing those people, but you literally kill them on screen. And then it's like, just psych. We got you, huh? Like, no, you just ruined a good scene is all you did. So hopefully this is all true, and Ghostface continues to be dark, continues to be brutal, and, we actually get people that die, right? Like, cause again, it's almost like it's a horror movie, right? It's almost like there's a killer that's supposed to kill people. So we'll see. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with my points? Do you disagree with my points? Are you kind of in the middle? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.